Rabbi now goes on to clarify.
So David is asking, how do we achieve transcendence over the material world? Not to allow the material world, our needs, to have control over us, but we have control over it, which is definitely a great accomplishment. How do we do that? How do we achieve that? That's not so simple. Or is it? Maybe it is something simple to be achieved. One moment.
Lofty.
Oh, all right, there we go. Look at that. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad, Zichron Kadeshim, in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We are beginning a new journey, a couple days ago at least. We're in chapter 20. And what we want to learn in the next several chapters, 20 through 25, is how do we not merely reveal our soul that wants to be connected, not lose the connection with the divine, with God, not lose our sense of identity of who we are, only when it comes to a question of faith, a question of choosing between our faith or death, keeping our faith or losing it. How do we live with it? Don't die for God, live for God. To die for God is much easier, even though it sounds, what do you mean? Because it's a one-time engagement, right? The thousands of Jews who in the past were given choice, accept another faith or die. For the most part, Jews died. That was a one-time issue, a one-time engagement. Yes, it revealed the core essence of the soul, giving them the unquestionable power to die as a Jew. But that's not the point of Tanya. The point of Tanya is, how do I live with that notion in a healthy way? To reveal the Ava Mesoteris, the hidden love, that part in my soul that doesn't want to be disconnected from my authentic being, from the divine, from God. That's where we're journeying. It's going to take a few chapters that we go step by step. So we need to understand or appreciate where we're going. We want to understand God's unity, His oneness. Not that the oneness is only when it comes to, ready to give up your life, but how to live that way. So before God created the world, He was alone. There's only God. Now, I don't remember a time before that. None of us do. Because it was before time. Before there was time, there was only with God. Before there was time, before there was place, there was the Creator. He wasn't even called the creator because there was no one to call him anything. Right? Only now that there's creation, so we call him creator, we're the created. Right? That's how we call him. But before that, there was just him, her. No him, no her. Not even call him a him. Not even with a him with a Y. Because there's no one to sing to. No one singing to him. A him. I don't know if you got that, but.
Very interesting.
Now God creates a world. Well, he creates a coffee cup. Some coffee in it. David's coffee. Come to Chabad Zikr in Montreal, you get David's coffee. He creates me. He creates you. He creates a universe. Galaxies. How's God look at it? Well, we can make the mistake and look at it the way we see in the human condition. The human condition, a craftsman takes silver. There's a silver cup. Let us pretend. And he takes silver that's malleable and forms it and shapes it into a goblet. Now the goblet, then, you put it down, it's an existence that exists on its own, independent of its maker. Because the maker can only form it. That's all it can do. We do not create anything. We shape things. Even energy that becomes mass, or mass that turns into energy, all it is being reshaped into a different matter of being, or thing of being. That's all that's happening. And that's all that there can happen. Because we're not the creator. But the creator, he creates, not like the craftsman, but something ex nihilo, something from nothing. He creates that this exists. What is the mechanism that God does it? It's through his word. He says the word or, which means light. And guess what? Let there be light. And guess what happened? There was light. It's those letters that are the creative substance of light. Kos means cup, goblet. Those are the letters that are the substance of the goblet. If those letters would not be there, they would return to their source, cease to exist. Would cease to exist. All right? So, in other words, it's nothing but the word of God that's clothed in the worlds that gives existence. Now let's understand that word of God that's giving existence. And let's understand it metaphorically. And we're just going to start with the metaphor. We're not going to finish with it today, but it's powerful. Let's take from the human condition, right? And understand it the way it is in us. And when we understand the way in us, because after all, we're created in the image of God, and even we have a piece of God in us in our divine soul. So when we can understand that, that will give us an understanding on the way it is on high, of course, even in a greater degree. And how is it for us? Well, when I say a single word, or, light, or the, right? How significant is that word? I don't mean the impact of the word, right? Sometimes you can say one word to a person and it changes their life. That's the impact of the word, but that's not the word itself, right? The word, not how it affects somebody, but the word that I express, one word, compared to the power of speech. How significant is it? Again, not the impact of the word, but then just one word. It's nothing. Because I could speak, forever. As long as I have some David's coffee over here, to give me some energy boost. Speak and speak and speak and speak. Because we have a limitless capacity of expression, of language, of speaking, of words. So one word is incomparable to that capacity. Now let's take it a step further. Remember, this is a metaphor, and we're going with something with this, which we will not see today. Putting my cards on the table. You're not going to appreciate this metaphor today because it will continue. But yet, even in the midst of the metaphor, there's something amazing to appreciate. So, now compare, where does our speech come from? Why do I speak what I speak? Because I think what I think. Because I think what I think. Thoughts. Right? You can't say something that you didn't think. Now, maybe you didn't think it right now, but you thought it at some point, and therefore, because you thought it at some point, therefore you're able to express it at another point. Or now I'm thinking, and what I'm thinking is now what I express. Right? So, let's go with the metaphor. Okay? Thought is called the innermost garment of the human condition, because thought is an expression of me to myself, not to you. It's an expression of me to myself. It's a deeper expression of me than my speech. Right? Speech is external compared to thought, because I could say to somebody, I love you. And maybe I'm not feeling that. Maybe I'm not even thinking that. But if I think lovingly, then it's a deeper expression. So so for the sake of the metaphor, one word that I express, let's use that, because it doesn't seem too significant, right? Compared to my capacity to speak, it's incomparable, because I could say ad infinitum words. Compared to its source, which is, what's the source of speech? Thoughts. Well, speech, there's a time to speak and a time not to speak, right? In other words, we don't always speak, but guess what? We always think. So the source of my language that I express is in my thoughts, that is continuous, and you don't turn it off. Some people have difficulty sleeping at night because of that, because the thoughts just keep on flooding in the mind, right? Keep on flooding in the mind. So the way the letters are in thought, they're much more abstract, they're more spiritual, they're more refined. And that's where the letters of thought are the source of the letters of speech. Right? Now, compare that to your intelligence and your emotions. Compare one word to the capacity of your soul to understand something, to have intelligence, has intelligence, or has emotions. One word is totally incomparable compared to one word of speech. And that's in the middle of a thought. We're going to continue this idea, but let me back up for a moment. just to remember where we're going with this. We want to appreciate, how is it that I could not die for God, but live for God continuously, day in, day out, every hour by the hour, every experience by every experience. So what we need to come to is to recognize God's unity and presence as a result, constantly, constantly, in everything in our lives, and not just when it comes to the big things. You know, when you're deep in the abyss, so then you need God. When you're on top of the mountain, oh, you're so thankful to God for, being on top of the mountain. That's human nature, that we, have our ups and our downs, and that we seek God or sense His presence and connect to Him, from time to time. But when we understand the unity of God, the oneness of God, that's where we're going with this. That's what the metaphor of one word compared to the power of speech is incomparable. Compared to the power of thought, it's even more incomparable, as thought is the source of speech, and thought never ceases. And then that one word compared to the source of where the thought comes from. And why do you think what you think? Because you feel what you feel, and you perceive what you perceive. That leads to your thoughts. Which, right? Which, let's just digress on that for a moment. Just to take out another idea here in what we're learning, is the reason why I think what I think is because I feel what I feel. Right? Meaning, if I didn't have these strong feelings about something, I wouldn't think it. Think about it. Someone was just learning with us before. So, said, wow, this morning I thought about you, and look at that, you're here. Right? So Talmud tells us thought helps, meaning it makes a difference, our thoughts. And the truth is, he said he was going to come on Chabad, but whatever, just came from out of town, that's irrelevant. But I didn't think about him on Chabad. He said he was coming, a bunch of people, and at the time I didn't think, and I didn't think about it, that the fact that he didn't come until this morning. Why did I think this morning? Because this morning I'm thinking, we'll make sure that we have a minyan. So that was something that was important to me emotionally. So therefore, that prompted a thought about him, about Aaron. And I'm thinking, I hope he comes today to the minyan. He's been out of town, so he hasn't been here for over a month. And guess what? He came to the minyan. Now, I'm bringing a side point that, as the Talmud, our sages teach us, that when thought helps, meaning when you connect with somebody, there is a connection, a real connection that's made, right, with that person just by thinking about them. That's why it's important to think about people in a healthy, good way, not in a negative way, because you don't want to connect in a negative way. Right? You want to connect in a good, healthy way. So here, the thoughts is there, but to tie it into our teachings over here, the reason why I thought about him is because there was an emotional need that I had that was lying deeper without expression in the desire to have a minyan. And thinking about that, oh, I hope Aaron comes. And in the end, his coming, as all the other 9 that came, we had exactly a minyan. So not only does God bring angels, when you need them, when we need it, we had exactly a minyan, at the beginning at least. But when you think about a person, it actually makes a connection. But here, the point over here is the reason I thought about him and didn't think about him before, because yesterday I wasn't thinking about the minyan that we need, to make sure that we have a minyan. I wasn't thinking about it yesterday. And on Shabbos, I wasn't thinking then, but here I was thinking, so my thought turned to him. That's why it rose into my head. And I was saying, oh, yeah, he wasn't here Shabbos. Okay, I hope he'll be here today. It'd be wonderful to see him and to connect with him. So I thought it because I was feeling the need for something that brought it up. Huh?
You had a phone call?
No.
Who's up?
No, the point that I'm making,
I'm fine.
no, the point, there's 2 points over here, but the point that ties in over here is we think based on what we have a feeling towards. If you have no feeling towards a person, you're not going to think about them, right? If you have no feeling, if you have a strong feeling about a person, a strong feeling about an incident that just happened to you, then more likely you're going to be thinking about that than anything else. My point over here is we think about that which we feel. And why do we feel about what we feel? Because we perceive what we perceive. So I perceive that having a minyan is an important thing. That then develops a feeling of, a feeling of, towards the minyan. And therefore that brings up to thought about the minyan, whether it's about reaching out to this person, whether this person will come or not come, whatever the thought will be. And that will bring to, ultimately, will bring to action, sometimes I make the phone call. Here I didn't make the phone call, right? Or an action of sending a text or whatever, if that be necessary. But I did actually, there was an action. I put on the WhatsApp group, we need one more for the minyan. And one more came. Anyways, that's all. Yeah. All right. Any questions here? I made a very short class into a long one. First, let's say some hellos over here to Davida and Liba in New York. Elise is in West Virginia. Alice is in Baltimore. Warming up in the cold of Baltimore to the warmth of Tanya. We have Gustavo in Bolivia. Welcome. Erica is in Norway. Peng is in, you have to remind me, somewhere in the east. Sandy is in Michigan with us. Galise in Georgia. Robert is in, you have to remind me, I don't remember now. John in North Carolina. In North Carolina? Oh my gosh. North Carolina? No. No. Not North Carolina. Irma in St. Martin, you have to remind me. No, Samuel is in India. All right. Lorraine joining us. June in Australia. Michelle is in. Thank you for joining. Didi in Oklahoma. Carmen is in Texas. Samuel, I couldn't find kosher non-vegetarian, non-vegan here in my region due to the lack of Jewish community, but well, it's easily available, so what should I do? Reach out to me later. I'm not clear on the question, okay? You can private message me. Okay. Chava is joining us in Colorado. Oops. Adopt a hostage. Thank you, folks. Yes. Yohanan in California. Diana is in Arizona. Dana in Washington State. Jay is in Grace Lake, Illinois. Zara in Malaysia. Daphne in South Carolina. John, oh, it is North Carolina. Okay, John. Thank you. Did I miss anybody? Oh, yeah, we have Vilma, Jay, Celeste, Melissa on Clubhousers. Akoya in Lima, Peru, we have with us. We have Light of Torah. Rachel in South Carolina. Fletcher. Yara is with us. Amy. Israel still lives. Absolutely. All right, beautiful. No, I don't see any questions. All right. There's clarity. We're in the middle. To be continued. Rambam coming up. Last night we had an amazing TRC, Tanya Rabbi community, and also a special class on the Parsha. You can get the Torah studies on Tanya Rabbi on YouTube, and TRC, well, let me know. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad, Zurich, and Kadesh, Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Rambam is coming up next. Thank you for joining me.